My name is Mark Brantley, and I'm the proud leader of the Concerned Citizens Movement and the exceedingly proud representative of the people of District 9, comprising the parishes of St. John's and St. Paul's. Since 2007, the people of Number 9 have voted for me consistently and have sent me to Bastille. Election after election, they have reposed their trust and confidence in me. Some say, why should we send you to Bastille? I think the answer is simple, that in me you have someone who is committed, someone who's dedicated, and someone who's strong. Someone who will stand up in Bastille for what is best for my constituents and best for the island of Nevis.
My name is Alexis Jeffers, and I am the proud representative of Nevis 11, which includes St. Thomas and St. James. I have been the representative of this proud constituency since June of 2020. You have said in the past that you needed quality representation. You needed serious representation and dedicated representation, which was lacking for 20 years prior to 2020. So I'm asking the people of St. James and St. Thomas Parish once again to repose your confidence, your trust in me once again to go back to Bastille and champion your cause there as your representative of Nevis 11.
My name is Eric Evelyn, and I am running for the constituency of Nevis 10. And I'm here because I want to be re-elected to continue to serve the people of constituency Nevis 10 and the people of Nevis, and by extension the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I believe that I have what it takes to represent and to represent well. I believe that representation requires commitment, dedication, passion, and service with compassion. I believe that I bring all of that and more. I believe that I bring the energy that is required to go to Bastille and to represent and represent well.
At the Caribbean Cove. I am your moderator for tonight, Ms. Latoya Bianca Jones. I am Deputy Chair of the Concerned Citizens Movement and the President of the CCM Women's Arm. I would like to welcome all our supporters and all those who are viewing and listening via our Facebook page, Concerned Citizens Movement, our YouTube channel, CCM Nevis, our website, ccmnevis.com, or via the Powerhouse Von Radio. Tonight, our candidates are present and are ready to hear from you. Tonight, they are ready to engage in a meaningful discussion that seeks to address your issues and concern. Those of you with questions are encouraged to share via our social media platforms, and those who are present with us here at Caribbean Cove, you too would be given an opportunity to ask your questions. At this time, I wish to introduce our candidates for the upcoming federal elections. Our Premier and Leader, Honorable Mark A.G. Brantley, representative of constituency number 9, Honorable Eric Evelyn, representative of constituency number 10, and our Deputy Premier and Leader, Honorable Alexis Jeffers, representative of constituency 11. I will now ask each representative to give brief opening remarks, after which we would proceed with the questions. We will start with Honorable Eric Evelyn.
Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you very much, Moderator Latoya. Let me say good night to all, to my fellow candidates here on stage, Honorable Mark Brantley, Honorable Alexis Jeffers. And first of all, I must say thank you for the introduction. And I love the way you introduced us as the representatives. And we are the candidates, but we will be the representatives. I must say from the onset that I'm a little disappointed that we are here this time. We're 3 years early for a general election, but nonetheless, we're here. We are at a critical crossroads in our nation's history. And I, for one, as I said, I'm disappointed because I am one who wanted the team unity construct to work, and I wanted our government to work. And I think my colleagues here on stage can bear me out that I worked very hard to try to get this construct to work. Unfortunately, it did not work. And we are here on the cusp of a new election, a general election. And I can say that this election is not about me. It's not about Eric Evelyn. It's not about Mark Brantley. It's not about Alexis Jeffers. This election is about Nevis, and it's about representation for Nevis. It's about what truly we deserve, and it's about the representatives who can bring to Nevis and Nevisians what we truly deserve. I would also say that I do not want our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts to get any misconceptions, because this election and what we are going through is not about Nevis versus St. Kitts. It's not about St. Kitts versus Nevis. I think we all know that St. Kitts and Nevis, we are one. 2 islands, 1 federation, 1 paradise. And I think the residents of both St. Kitts and Nevis are closely intertwined, closely knit, and we would always be one. And so I do not want persons to believe that we on the island of Nevis are trying to take away anything from our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts. It should never be about that. It should never be about a competition. What we do should always complement each other. And so this election is all about us, the 3 representatives, standing up for Nevis and asking for Nevis and Nevisians what is rightfully ours.
We'll now move on to Honorable Alexis Jeffers to give brief opening remarks.
Yes, thank you very much, Latoya, and let me express pleasant good evening to all of you who are gathered here with us here at Caribbean Cove. I also want to express good night, good morning, whatever the situation might be, to all those who are listening locally, regionally, and internationally, because we know we have Nevisians throughout the world. And of course, what is happening in the Federation these days is of interest to every single citizen, whether they live here or they live abroad. So we're reaching out to you this evening through this medium and through this town hall meeting. I want to say how happy I am to be here this evening, Latoya. Happy in the sense that I am here to dialogue with our people. We are here to dialogue with the entire nation. And Eric would have said before that he didn't expect to be at this point 2 years on into a government. But of course, as things go sometimes, there are situations that arise and you have to deal with them accordingly. 2 years ago when we reached out to the Nevisian public to send 3 of the best representatives that this island have ever seen to St. Kitts, the nation or the island responded positively in an overwhelming fashion. in constituency 9, 10, and 11. As a matter of fact, constituency 11 is the first time ever the Concerned Citizens Movement would have had a candidate and, of course, a representative of the Concerned Citizens Movement who would have made their way to the federal parliament. Now, I say that because it is important for us to understand that when it comes to proper representation of the island and the people of Nevis, we must do so with a single voice. And we said, send us to Bastia as a team to represent the island of Nevis. And I will say here and now, without any shadow of a doubt, that the three representatives that you see here on the platform, that is our Premier, the Honorable Mark Brantley, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and myself, would have represented the island of Nevis in the best possible way, in that we would have gone there and would have given an account of ourselves there in terms of how we handled our ministries, how we represented the people of Nevis, and how we articulated the issues there as well. Of course, as we go on, we'll speak more about that. But I want to say to the island of Nevis, the choice was the correct choice in 2020. In 2022, it will also remain the correct choice because 9, 10, and 11 will certainly send the three of us back to Bastia to continue the work that we started. We have been a part of a team unity construct, a concept that we believe can work. It has worked to some extent, but of course it has been derailed by someone who we feel was not willing to compromise, was not willing to work within the team unity structure that we obviously know can work. And so we are proposing true unity moving forward. But before I get to that, let me say that Eric touched on some of the issues that will be important to this campaign. We are standing up for Nevis for what we believe is right. We are standing up for Nevis because we are demanding our fair share of the proceeds of the CBI program. The Prime Minister is not doing us any favor by sending any pittance over here. We are equal citizens in this federation. And when we say we need our rightful share or fair share, it is an entitlement that we must be willing to fight for. The concept of a fair share is embedded in that doctrine that entitlement to fair share, entitlement to the resources of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, entitlement to what we must be given as citizens of this great federation. So that entitlement is what we're talking about, embodied in the fair share concept. And as such, I am willing to continue to fight. I am willing to continue to agitate and advocate. And I want to say to the Nevisian public, and I've said it before, any party or any organization other than the CCM that is advocating anything other than fair share for the island of Nevis, meaning they're coming with issues that are not germane to the argument, then they are being deceitful, and they, in my opinion, are seeking to rob the people of Nevis of what is rightfully ours. It is very simple. We want to go back to Bastia to continue to advocate and bring home the bacon when it's all said and done. So I want to wrap up because, of course, we'll have a chance to dialogue more. But I want to say that the three of us have represented well. The three of us have proven that teamwork is the best way forward. The three of us have shown that once there are three united voices in Bastia, we are able to derive what is rightfully ours in terms of ensuring that we don't have any ad hoc approach to this whole idea of representation in Bastia. I'll leave it there for now, Latoya.
Honorable Premier, your opening remarks.
Latoya, thank you very much for the opportunity, and good evening to all who are listening. I too feel a sense of sadness that we have come to this stage. Clearly, when our people voted in 2020 and gave the Concerned Citizens Movement for the first time in its history all 3 federal seats on Nevis, it was because they saw something in us. They saw in us the opportunity to have real representation for them in Bastille. And that ultimately is what we are about. That ultimately is what we must continue to seek to achieve. And that is why we have come back. I am disappointed and saddened, however, like Eric, and I believe like Alexis, that we have had to come 3 years early. And I think our people need to understand that was not our doing. That the individuals who are sitting on this stage this evening didn't set out to disrupt the government. And we must get to a point in our country where we understand, standing up for what it is, insisting that the people of Nevis are equal partners in this federation, that we are entitled to the full fruits of our citizenship. Not only about PHA, it's not just about CBM money, though that was the issue. It's also about opportunity. It's also about the people need to understand, as I like to say, a little boy or little girl in Jessup's open ground or on his road, growing up knowing that he or she could be anything in this country. If they want to be governor general, they should be. Prime minister, they should be. Whatever. And for a long time, Nevisians have been told that you must sit at the back of the bus. And there has been an attitude in Church Street which is disrespectful, which is condescending, and which sees the people of Nevis in a way that doesn't value our contribution to the Federation. So when I say fair share, I'm talking about an entire relook and a rethink of how we see our country and how we see the people of Nevis contributing to the development of St. Kitts and Nevis. So we are saddened that we're here, but I believe that we did everything, and I'm happy that Eric spoke to it, because we did everything that we could to avoid being here. Eric has been, as we know him to be, the peacemaker. And he tried everything. He asked for meetings, he asked for a retreat. But the gentleman who occupied the office of Prime Minister was not interested in any of that. He was not interested in any form of compromise, any form of dialogue. He had in his head that the people of Nevis must be treated in a particular way, and he had in his head that he wishes to continue indefinitely in the office of the Prime Minister. And that really is what this is about. And I think that our people just need to accept that. I have seen fingers being pointed at us to suggest that we somehow caused this chaos, we caused this confusion. To the contrary, we tried everything imaginable to try to save this construct and to try to deliver, remembering that our primary purpose was to serve the people, not ourselves, but the people. And so here we are, regrettable as it is, and we are saying to the people of Nevis that we have not been cast out from the cabinet because of poor performance. We have not been cast out from the cabinet because we did not do our job. We haven't been cast out because we didn't represent properly. We've been cast out because we decided to stand up. Stand up on principle and stand up for what we believe is right. And if it is that we are to suffer for that, then so be it. Because I believe that history will judge us, and history will say that when the time came, you had 3 representatives from Nevis, and the Honorable Eric Evelyn, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and myself, who said that we stand with the people of Nevis. And if that is our sin, then we plead guilty.
Thank you, honorable gentlemen, for your opening remarks. We would now go straight into the questions, but before we do, I just want to thank everyone, the general public, who sent questions after we released our flyer, disseminated our flyers. Persons reached out, many called, many texts, and they sent messages to me. So we do have quite a number of questions to go through tonight. In the event that we don't, please don't feel any way. We have more town hall meetings coming up, and we will bring forth the questions there. Now, a federal election is looming. We are 3 years early. You have all asked the people, you're all asking the people of Nevis to re-elect you to office. Why should the people of Nevis re-elect you? We're going to begin with Honorable Alexis Chavez.
Thank you very much, Latoya. When we came to the Nevis John Public in 2020, we said we were the best team to represent the island of Nevis. That is still the same case today. And on that basis, I can end my answer right there. Because if we were good enough then, we're even better now. Because of the fact that we have proven that we are willing to stand up against all odds. Irrespective of what might be said by the opposition, for example, we have stuck to our message. We need to derive our fair share out of this arrangement. Not only that, we know that this team that would have gone to St. Kitts would have gone there, and we all had ministries there. And those ministries are federal ministries that would have impacted the entire federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We represented well Eric as the Minister of Environment and other ministries as well. Same thing with our Premier, who was, I almost say is, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He can speak and articulate his position on that. And of course, I was there as the Minister of Agriculture et al. And every time anyone examined us in St. Kitts, they've always said that those three representatives from Nevis have come to St. Kitts and have shown us in St. Kitts that we are capable and we have done an excellent job at what we have done there. Not only that, in terms of being there and representing this federation abroad, we have all done that. So I will say to the Nevisian public that our efforts over the last 2 years have certainly laid the platform for us to go back for another 5. And I said in my opening stance that at least the island of Nevis have been shortchanged in the past, where you have had divided voices. For 20 years, you had a representative of the NRP on one side of the aisle, and then you had 2 representatives from the CCM. We have sought to correct that, and the people of Nevis have sought to correct that as well, and that has borne fruits. Keep in mind, while we've been there, we have seen some fruits of our efforts, but it's not exactly what we envisaged and what we signed up for. We are saying this time around, the fair share that we have advocated for will be granted to us because we have a willing partner who is willing to do so.
Honorable Premier, why should the people of Nevis re-elect you?
I think in me, the people of Nevis, and more specifically the people of number 9, St. John's and St. Paul's, know that they have a representative who's committed to them. They know they have someone who's willing to stand up and to fight for them. Let's face it, we 3 who are sitting here were the recipients of a salary in St. Kitts and benefits from being ministers in St. Kitts. And if we were selfish, we could have kept our mouths shut and continued to benefit. We have paid a price for standing up. And I'm very proud, Latoya, that we stood up in opposition when there was a time that there was a government in Church Street that was oppressing the people of Nevis. And we have come now in government and we've said, listen, our stance has not changed. Whether we're in opposition or we're in government, we will stand up for Nevis. And if it means, as it has happened, that we have been cast out of the cabinet, then so be it. It's a price that we will willingly pay in order for the people of Nevis to have the type of representation that they deserve. Why should you send us back? You should send us back because we have unfinished business. There's work to be done at the federal level to make the lives of our people better. We made certain commitments that we have not yet delivered on. For example, I can think of the issue of marijuana and what have we done in relation to the marijuana industry. There's been a lot of talk, but have we been able to deliver an industry to the people of the country? The answer is no. There's work to be done. National health insurance. The Honorable Eugene Hamilton has had that for years. Again, has not delivered. So what are we to tell the people? We need to be there at the table, and this is why for me it is so difficult, because our focus ought to have been delivering on the commitments that we made to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, ensuring that we continue in the fight against crime, ensuring that this peace program that has yielded some benefits is streamlined and put on a proper footing so that our people can understand in a transparent way how it is we are seeking to fight and reduce crime.
looking to see how we can build out our infrastructure. The Charleston Accord that was signed in 2014, the 14th of December, if I recall, spoke, for example, to the development of geothermal energy. That is citizenship by investment program, and the proceeds would be used for that. That hasn't materialized. Why is that important? Even now, our people are groaning under the cost of increased electricity. Increased electricity comes from the fact that we have a war in Ukraine and oil prices have increased globally. Once oil prices increase and you're generating electricity from diesel, you're going to pay increased prices. All of these things could have been addressed if the focus in Church Street was on the developmental agenda of the country. How do we bring Nevisians and Kittitians together? How do we ensure that it's not us against them, but rather all of us working together, pressed into service in terms of our national development? So for me, the people of Number 9 have been very kind to me. When I was yet a boy, they elected me in 2007 and elected me against all the odds. I remember saying that I won by a landslide because I won by 30 votes. And every election since then, the people of Number 9 have not only voted for me, but they've given me a wider and wider margin. I think that tells a story because I have been with them and they have been with me. And they understand that in me they have a representative who always puts their interests first. And so my answer to that question, why should we go back? We go back because, as Alexis said, we have demonstrated that we can do the job. We demonstrated that we're fit for purpose. And we know that there's work left unfinished and work that has to be done. And we feel that for the people of Nevis, we are best equipped to deliver on those commitments, not only for Nevis, but for the entire Federation.
Okay, constituency number 10. I think they're ready to re-elect you, but Mr. Evelyn, why should the people of constituency number 10 re-elect you?
Thank you. Well, I think it's no secret that I'm the newest politician. I would not say the youngest politician on stage, but the newest politician. I haven't even completed a term in the Nevis Island Assembly yet, and I have just completed 2 years, not even 2 years yet in the federal government. And I think, I don't like to assess myself, but I think I have grown exceptionally well so far at the local level, as well as the federal level in less than 2 years. And I think I have made the case based on the representation that I have put forward in the federal government, in the federal cabinet. I think people have seen what I've done, what I'm capable of doing. Of course, the people of Nevis 10, Gingerland, they know me exceptionally well. And they all know that I'm responsible, I'm caring, I'm level-headed, I have displayed exceptional leadership qualities. I am someone that they can trust. I am genuine. I am real. And there's absolutely no doubt that I need to go back to Bastia to continue the work that I have started. Of course, as the Honorable Mark Brantley and Alexis Jeffers would have indicated, we have work to do. And the people from the various ministries that we serve, they are looking for us to come back. And we are looking to go back to continue the work that we have started. And of course, we have to continue to stand up for the island of Nevis and for Nevisians. And that is why I'm asking the good people of St. George, Gingerland, to send me back in an even more resounding fashion to Bastia.
Okay, good. Many Nevisians are familiar with your roles at the local level, but not so much at the federal level. Can you give an account of your stewardship in government at the federal level? And can you indicate how your representation at the federal level, how has it benefited the people of Nevis? So we would begin with Honorable Premier, Mr. Brantley.
Well, I am the longest serving federal member here. I feel sometimes a little badly for Alexis and Eric because they have done less than 2 years, but I've been there now in government for 7 years, and prior to that, of course, I had been in the parliament since 2007. So I believe that I bring the necessary experience to the job, but I think it's a fair question. What do I do, and how does it benefit? I have scoured the world as foreign minister since 2015. And my staff at the time will tell you that whenever I sit down with a diplomat from a foreign country, within the first 5 minutes, I will ask them about training opportunities for our youth. And I have been able to expand in a very significant way the availability of scholarships for our young people. We now have young people studying in places like Azerbaijan, in places like Morocco, in places like Serbia. These are all countries that ordinarily we wouldn't think of. But I have realized that the cost of education is high. Many of our people cannot afford. And as a consequence, we have reached out through diplomacy to our friendly countries. And so I believe that that is something that we have continued to do and continue to encourage our young people to take advantage of. In addition to that, when I became foreign minister, we had a situation where the relationship between our country and the United States of America and the relationship between our country and Canada, that relationship had deteriorated. And I was charged to repair that relationship. It is true that we were and have been thus far unable to regain the visa-free status to Canada. But we have repaired the relationship to the point that when Canada introduced visas and required us to give biometrics, which is your fingerprints and all that, it required our people to travel as far south as Trinidad in order to do that. And I went to Canada and I met with the Canadian government and I said this would make it difficult for our people. And imagine a family of 4 in Nevis deciding they want to go to Toronto for whatever reason and having first to travel to Trinidad to find money for ticket and hotel with no guarantee that they would get the visa when they go there. And so the Canadians were persuaded to travel to us and say, okay, we understand the argument, and we will now put in place an itinerant system where we come to you to gather the data that we need. And all of the Caribbean benefited. And that initiative was led by me as the Foreign Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. We, all of us, would have recalled that there was a time in the 1950s and 1960s that our people traveled to the United Kingdom. Old Mother England was recovering from World War II, and our people went by the boatloads to help to repair and restore England. My father of blessed memory was one of those, and they became known as the Windrush generation because the first ship that left the Caribbean from Jamaica was the MV Windrush. And so those people became known as the Windrush generation. Thousands and thousands of Caribbean nationals who left here and went to England in order to help in the repair and the redevelopment of England after World War II. When we found out that those same people, many of whom were now elderly and living in England for many years, were now being rounded up and deported because they were being told that they did not qualify to stay in England. The High Commissioner of St. Kitts and Nevis, still His Excellency Kevin Isaac, and the High Commissioner of Barbados, His Excellency Guy Hewitt at the time, they led the effort in bringing awareness to the press in the United Kingdom of this unfair treatment to Caribbean people. I went to the UK in 2018 for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, and I was the one who led that effort. Went on the media, interviewed by major news media like the BBC, like CNN, like Russia Today, like BBC Radio, Channel 4 News, and led the charge. And Latoya, what I liked about that was that, you know, it wasn't even a majority of Kittitians and Nevisians being affected. The people who benefited most from that advocacy were our brothers and sisters in Jamaica and other countries with bigger populations in the Caribbean. And I am proud that when the history of that period is written, it will say that then Prime Minister Theresa May had refused to meet with Caribbean leaders. And after that pressure was exerted, she did an about-face and said, I will meet at number 10 with the Caribbean prime ministers who were in London at the time to try and address this issue. That issue led to a substantial reform in the UK. It led to an apology from the Prime Minister. It led to the resignation of Amber Rudd, who was then the Home Secretary, I think her title was. And it led to a compensation fund being set up for Caribbean nationals who were affected. And I was the person who was in the thick of the representation, St. Kitts and Nevis, little St. Kitts and Nevis, the thick of the representation on behalf of the Windrush generation. The other thing that I'm quite proud of, and I will end with this, is the fact that I was charged with strengthening our relationship with existing partners and expanding our relationship to new partners. I am very proud of my record as foreign minister that we have added 47 countries to our list of countries with which we have diplomatic relations, many of whom are in Africa, as we try to animate our South-South cooperation and engage with the African continent. And more than that, I have taken the St. Kitts Nevis passport to the #1 passport in the entire Caribbean region. There was a time when Barbados, Bahamas, and some other countries were ahead of us. That time is over. St. Kitts and Nevis now has the most powerful passport in all of the region, allowing our people to travel far and wide to now over 161 countries in the world without the need for a visa. And that, to my mind, is of tremendous benefit to all of us and of tremendous benefit to the Citizenship by Investment program, where naturally people who are seeking to acquire a second citizenship are looking to see which country offers the best product. And that country is St. Kitts and Nevis.
Thank you. Honorable Eric Evelyn.
Much, Latoya. Yes, at the federal level, I was responsible for the Ministry of Environment and Cooperatives, and I must say that I was quite privileged because that was a totally new ministry. And so I think that ministry at some point in time must have been under the microscope because it was under, those two departments were under different ministries at one point in time. And I would say that I was very privileged to have been given that ministry. And I think under my leadership, I believe that those two departments in particular, cooperatives and environment, I think they were yearning for some recognition. And I believe that I was able to provide that in a short 2 years. And I would challenge anyone to speak to anybody from those departments. Just do a survey. And I think I can put my head on a block. I can put my head on a block that every member of each of those departments would give me a very high grade. Now, let me speak just briefly about the Department of Cooperatives. And under my leadership, under my watch, in the short, less than 2 years, the Department of Cooperatives have been much more active than it has been in the past. The cooperatives themselves have been much more active. We were successful in hosting the biggest event that the cooperatives themselves together have ever had in 2020, called the Agro Strip. It went exceptionally well. All of the cooperatives came together. And because of the vibrancy that have been brought within the cooperative department and the work that they have done, and all of the cooperatives, they have been able to host a lot more functions, which I'm very proud that I've been to most of the functions that have been hosted by the cooperatives as well. And apart from that, that level of excitement actually was coming to Nevis as well, because some training was being done at the level of the cooperatives in St. Kitts. And at one point in time, they brought some of the training to the fisheries cooperative here on the island of Nevis. And so the fishers cooperatives, the farmers cooperatives were becoming more vibrant. And as I said, that work has to continue. And I believe it will. Turning to the Department of Environment, I don't think that in the past, people in the Federation, and generally across the region as well, have taken the issue of the environment as important as it should be. And from my leadership, there has been a lot more advocacy, that there has been a lot more public relations where the environment and the importance of the environment is concerned. We have done a number of projects on St. Kitts, which there has always been an element on the island of Nevis. I could recall we launched a project early in my tenure we would have been able to provide some storage tanks, water storage tanks. Of course, we are going through a water problem right now. And so we were able to provide water storage tanks to some of the schools, some of the learning institutions. And that project, Nevis benefited tremendously from that project as well. I know that Coconut Walk over in the New River area was able to benefit from a project that is based in St. Kitts. I know there was some cleaning at the pond over at Nelson Spring, also part of a project that's from St. Kitts. Of course, recently we would have opened the Interpretation Center there at Hard Times as well, also part of a wider federal project. Of course, since I've been there as well, we have continued, or what should I say, rekindled the step towards banning single-use plastics. We've had numerous consultations where that is concerned. We've done a lot of beach cleanups, and generally there's a lot more awareness with regards to the importance of the environment. And I believe it is because of my leadership. Of course, I would have represented the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, I believe with distinction, at COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland last year. And I must say that I feel extra proud because I have been the first Minister of Environment to attend COP. And the members of the staff of the department in St. Kitts of Department of Environment, they were overjoyed and overwhelmed that I was able to go to Glasgow, Scotland and represent the Federation in the distinguished way that I did. And I must say as well, because of my representation in Glasgow, I was invited to a conference in Monaco a couple of months ago. And I am proud to say that I was the only Minister of Environment from the region who attended that conference in Monaco. We had representation from Europe, from the United States, from Africa, and I'm proud that I was the only one who was a representative from the Caribbean region. And as I said, that was because of my representation in Glasgow, Scotland. I would have traveled to Antigua as well, spoken at the OECS Assembly on the issue of the environment as well. And so, in a short space of time, I would have represented the Federation on several overseas engagements, and I believe that I would have done exceptionally well.
Honorable Alexis Jeffers.
Thank you very much. Yes, I am happy that I was given the opportunity to lead the Ministry of Agriculture and also the Department of Marine Resource and Fisheries at the federal level. And indeed, you have asked about the benefits and also how did I perform. Well, I will say that my performance there speaks for itself. I became the Minister of Agriculture at the federal level, and of course we met a situation where agriculture, in my opinion, the agricultural sector was somewhat in a state of chaos. And I'm being honest about that. Of course, we know there was a minister prior to me. I wouldn't go publicly and say too many things regarding that because, of course, we were colleagues then, but I still won't. But my job really was to bring about a renaissance, a renewed sense of interest in agriculture. And I think we would have accomplished that over a 2-year period. As a matter of fact, I can point to some accomplishments that I believe are worthy of praise and worthy of being mentioned at this point in time. Those of us in the Federation that are familiar with the Bayford Estate will recall that in 1993, thereabout, that estate was pretty much abandoned. My first visit there, I indicated to the staff that I traveled there with that we will rekindle or rejuvenate that particular estate. We have done so. We have done some tremendous work there in terms of renovating it, and we are now about to, and I say we are now, but I'm speaking as if I'm still there, but I'm hoping that even though I'm not there, the work is continuing whereby we're introducing new genetics, new breed, so that farmers throughout the entire Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis can benefit. Also, the Forest Estate, that estate or that outreach center was somewhat abandoned up to that point in time when I became the minister. And I visited and said, this is an excellent and fertile ground for development of different type of crops, root crops that is. So what we did, we went about the process of rejuvenating that outreach center as well. And indeed, for the first time in the history of St. Kitts, I must say, or that particular area, persons who were given lease to plots of land. I believe there were about 30 leases that were executed. And why I felt that was necessary, because I actually was looking at what was accomplished here in Nevis, where I can take some of those accomplishments to St. Kitts so that we can have a synergy throughout the entire federation. Nevis is progressing, St. Kitts is progressing. It means that the entire federation in the agricultural sector would progress. And that is why I felt that persons should have that entitlement or that ownership to a plot of land whereby they can exert the type of effort in agriculture that we know that our farmers can. Also, many of you would recall that we introduced there as well something similar that we would have done in Nevis, the night markets. And those have been of tremendous success. The numbers speak for themselves. And I want to thank the entire staff there for buying into the concepts that we would have brought to the table, and they work together as a team. And I want to say publicly that they must be commended as well. Most times we as ministers will get the commendation, and the members of staff, the permanent secretary, the supervisors and workers, even down to the field workers, I want to give them praise and commendation. And I'm eager to come back to continue the work as well, because I do believe that there's some unfinished business in that regard. But certainly agriculture has seen a rebirth and a growth that was not there before. I did say when I introduced myself to the staff there that we are here to mend fences and build bridges to the future. Because of course, farmers, in my opinion, were left out of the entire equation when we talk about food security and sustainability. We need those stakeholders on board in order to succeed in the sector. If we are to have availability, accessibility, and affordability of food, we must be able to work together and work harmoniously to ensure we achieve these objectives. And that is my charge that I would have given to the entire staff there, and they would have bought into it. In terms of Nevis and what we would have benefited, early in my term there, I would have sought to acquire and purchase 10 greenhouses. It was always my feeling, and still is, that the greenhouse technology can play a major role in ensuring that we achieve our objective of food security. It is a prolific form of farming. It is farming that can be done 12 months of the year. You're not subjected to the harsh climatic conditions that you'll find in the open field agriculture. So we received 10 of those, or purchased 10 of those. I believe we spent almost $800,000+. And the good thing about it is that 5 of those greenhouses were distributed here in Nevis and 5 on the island of St. Kitts. And what is even more pleasing to me is that those shade houses here on Nevis, at least they've also started producing as well. I see in the audience one of those farmers, Mr. Mackie Truss. I always pay homage to him, because you talk about serious farming, he represents someone who is serious about farming. He represents someone who is all about feeding the nation, because he doesn't only sell his products here in Nevis, but they are sold in St. Kitts as well. So he's a part of the whole thrust of food security and sustainability. Now, agriculture, I do believe, can continue to play a pivotal role in the overall economic development of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. But you do need a serious minister, and you do need a hard-working minister. And in me, those characteristics or qualities are embedded in me. And I do believe that the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis will be proud of my representation as a Minister of Agriculture in a future government, which we'll be a part of. So all of the ideas and programs that we would have started, we intend to continue in the very near future, in a few weeks, I must say. And agriculture, I want to say to everyone in the Federation, things are challenging, yes. And that is why we would have paid significant interest in backyard gardening as well. We would have worked closely with the Backyard Garden Association in St. Kitts. Here in Nevis, we are working with backyard gardeners as well, because we have given out free seeds, free seedlings. Persons who are not established farmers have gone home and done some planting. Because of the difficulty in accessing food these days, because of price and because of transportation of food to the island, we continue to encourage our folks to plant something. Plant something because, of course, if you plant something today, in a few months you'll be able to feed yourself. And we want to continue with that thrust. But agriculture is in good hands. Fisheries sector as well, too. Let me touch on that quickly. Because we do believe that to have a wholesome meal, it must include all types of food. So we cannot leave out the fisheries sector. And our fisher folks have played a tremendous role in propelling that sector forward. We have certainly given incentives in terms of free fish pot wires, we have given training, and indeed the Bass Stay Fisheries Complex and the complex here at Charlestown continue to play a significant role in taking some of those supplies so that they can be made available to our citizens. So the fisheries sector continues to thrive. There are challenges, but of course we continue to work assiduously to mitigate some of those challenges. The livestock sector as well, we continue to work there as well. Here on Nevis, we know what the accomplishments have been in terms of our abattoir. We have done some expansion and introduced some new products on St. Kitts as well. So overall, in the agro-processing sector as well, in both islands, we have sought to reach out to all of those folks who are interested in that particular area. That is the agro-processing business. I want to say that agriculture is something that all of us will have to play a role in ensuring that it is successful, because the challenges that we're facing now says to me that we have to redouble our effort. We have to be serious about agriculture. And as I said before, and I'll repeat it as well, that one has to have serious management of the sector. That is what we have brought over the last 2 years. And if we have done so good in 2 years, imagine what 5 years can be. So that is why I do believe that it is something that I will gladly embrace when the time comes to go back as the Federal Minister of Agriculture. Before I finish, let me touch on the last open day that was held in St. Kitts as well. In previous years, the open day was held at the Lagreet, the Department of Agriculture at Lagreet. This year, I said, because of the interest in agriculture, because of the overall thrust that have been placed on that sector, and because we've had the buy-in of all our stakeholders, of farmers, fisher folks, or allied agencies, let us open this up this time around and go down to the Newtown playing field. It was one of the best decisions that we have made. It was one of the biggest events that we've had for the past 27, 28 years. And that has given us some ideas for next year, when we'll make it even bigger. You see, I'm talking in advance because we'll get there. Because the examples that we have seen here in Nevis, and our colleagues from St. Kitts would have come over and have seen what we have done here, they would have gone back to St. Kitts and have said that they want to execute accordingly. So we did that in April, and I believe that we would have done something that over the years was not there, but because of the leadership that was provided this time around, we had a wonderful event. So I want to commend everyone in that regard. But I want to wrap up by saying agriculture is near and dear to me. It's near and dear to the Nevis Island administration, but I want to go further afield and say the entire federal government is interested in ensuring that we are meeting the demands of our people and fulfilling that mandate of feeding our nation. And we'll continue on that mandate in the very near future.
Before we proceed to the next question, I want us to just discuss the many job opportunities that Nevisians have received at the federal level. Can any of you highlight or indicate Nevisians who would have received job opportunities at the federal level?
Well, of course, as I said earlier, I've been there a bit longer than my two colleagues on the platform this evening. And so what we have tried to do, and I always say this publicly, that for me it was a matter of tremendous regret that it is only after I became Minister of Foreign Affairs in 2015 that the island of Nevis for the very first time, saw people being appointed from Nevis as ambassadors. Prior to 2015 and the 30 plus years of independence that we'd enjoyed since then, since 1983 when we became independent, up to that point, there had never been an ambassador from the island of Nevis. And it was, again, evidence of the thinking in Church Street that this was a role, it appeared, was reserved for others. And so I came in and I said, no, we ought to have people in roles who are best suited. And so we were able to appoint quite a few individuals in terms of our diplomacy. So we have people like Her Excellency Sherry Truss, who's our High Commissioner to Canada. We have His Excellency Dr. Everson Hull, who's our ambassador to the OS. We have people like Elsam Brister, who is, I believe, the first consul, at our High Commission in London. We have young Theo Wallace, Eustace Wallace from Hamilton. He's in our office in Ottawa. We have now a youngster, what's his name now, Sheldon Henry. I believe he's from the St. James area. He is now at our mission in New York. And we have sought even here in Bastille to expose more of our people. We have Chanel. What is Chanel's surname now? Simmons. How could I forget? Chanel, please forgive me. Chanel Simmons. She's in our office in Washington, D.C. And you look at a youngster like Chanel. Let me focus on her for just a second. Chanel speaks fluent Mandarin. She speaks some Korean. She is an absolute asset to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Somebody like that, prior to me being there, would never have had a chance. And so people like those, I think, are pressed now into the service of the country. And that, for me, is what unity was really about. Unity was about ensuring that persons such as those are brought into the service of the country to ensure that our country got the very best that was available. So we have hired, I think recently we've hired a young lady called Jazzy Connor, again from Nevis, who's working as a foreign service officer. We had, of course, Tuvia France, who was there from before. We brought on Shara Maynard. So quite a few divisions were able to get the opportunity to get engaged and abroad in terms of our diplomacy as a direct consequence of having somebody from Nevis at the helm. And that never happened before. In fact, if I might be very political for a minute, we had another foreign minister from Nevis. He didn't hire anybody. So I believe that ought to be said. Because before me, the foreign minister was from Nevis. But fortunately, he didn't think it necessary to find any youngsters in Nevis to empower. And so that is a fundamental difference in terms of how we have approached it.
Thank you very much. We will now take a short, 2 minutes break, and we will be back.
My name is Mark Brantley, and I'm the proud leader of the Concerned Citizens Movement and the exceedingly proud representative of the people of District 9, comprising the parishes of St. John's and St. Paul's. Since 2007, the people of Number 9 have voted for me consistently and have sent me to Bastille. Election after election, they have reposed their trust and confidence in me. Some say, why should we send you to Bastille? I think the answer is simple, that in me you have someone who is committed, someone who is dedicated, and someone who is strong. Someone who will stand up in Bastille for what is best for my constituents and best for the island of Nevis.
Welcome back to our town hall meeting. We would now get into the discussion on the fair share. Fair share has been given a lead role on our political stage. We've been hearing it almost every minute of every day. And I like that. I think it is important that we hear it because it is something serious. But what I want our representatives to do tonight is to explain to the general public as to what is meant by fair share for Nevis. Anyone?
Perhaps all of us can answer
Yes.
the question, but let me take the lead role at it. As I said in my opening stance, fair share actually is what you are entitled to. In our discussion and discourse, we have been very clear about that. And I do not think that anyone should try and mix apples and oranges and come with arguments that are not what the whole issue is about. We have stuck to that argument because we have said that we are citizens of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. An asset that belongs to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, or the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, is being sold for a lot of money. What we have claimed from the get-go until now is that we deserve our rightful share because we are entitled to it. We're not begging anyone for anything that is not ours. And so you have heard a lot of arguments about what have you done with what you have received. You have always heard persons coming with things that are not germane to the argument. But I want to bring the entire Nevisian community full circle and say this to you. Which party out there that is talking about fair share for Nevis and have advocated to the point where it has been on everyone's lips, and that is the CCM party? The CCM has represented in that regard, and the CCM understand why it is important to continue this fight. We keep hearing across the waters in St. Kitts, you see so many things being done, whether it's hotels, roads, infrastructural development. We want the same thing here in Nevis too, and we deserve to have them here. So if monies are being derived from the sale of an asset that belongs to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and has Nevis marked on it, it therefore means we should get our proceeds to do the same thing here on Nevis. And so I don't want us to get caught up in all sorts of different arguments out there. Because I've said before, if you're not talking about fair share for the island of Nevis, you are intended to rob the people of Nevis of what is rightfully ours. We have since heard persons from the other side buy into the argument, but they've always come with a but. I don't want to hear any but, if or anything of that sort. What I want all of us as Nevisians to do is to continue to speak about the same issue and advocate for what is ours. I said before as well, no one is doing us a favor if they send us, for argument's sake, $45 million, $66 million, whatever the case is. You hear about $400 million and the likes. I am saying to anyone who wants to create that hysteria in Nevis, in the opposition, because that's what it seems like. Give the opposition something to talk about to confuse the issue. And I will go further and say that we have seen it in previous leadership in St. Kitts, Prime Minister that is, When they want to create hysteria in Nevis, they put the people of Nevis to fight against each other. That is not what this is about. We don't need to fight about this issue. If we represent 25% of the population of St. Kitts and Nevis, it is very clear we should receive 25% of what is realized from the sale of that passport. We haven't gotten close to that. You have heard the Premier speak about it. We have received to date 7% of a whopping $5.5 billion. If that is not something for anyone to get angry about and stand up for what is rightfully ours, then I don't know what other issue there is to bring to the table. And that is why I am so proud to sit here this evening and so proud to say to the Premier of Nevis and leader of the island of Nevis, I'm prepared to stand up with him. I did tell him 2 years ago, if there is a need for me to do anything that he intends to do, just give me the sign. The sign was given, guys. I've been advocating. And this is what the Premier said. He has been advocating through letters, through meetings, time and time again. There comes a time when enough is enough. And that is what this issue is about. Enough is enough. And I want to say to the NRP and whoever else out there, come on board with the CCM. You have not come on board in the past, because you recall the CCM would have invoked clause 113 in 1998. The NRP supported it in the local assembly here, and then in a matter of days they were out on the street campaigning vociferously against it. That is not what you do as a Nevisian. That was an issue that was for the island of Nevis and the betterment of Nevis. Same thing you can speak about the issue with the pandemic as well. I've never come on board when Nevis matters. And I'm honestly being, emotional this evening about it, because when it comes to Nevis, it's what we have. I don't know where else to go. When it comes to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, this is all I have. But let me come full circle and talk about Nevis. This island is near and dear to me. The Premier can speak eloquently about that. Same thing as Eric as well. And anyone in the Nevis Island administration. And as a matter of fact, I'll go further. The majority of Nevisians, if not all Nevisians, can speak the same way I speak. That this island is what we have to hold on to when it's all said and done. The best for this island is what we all should strive for. And when it's all said and done, the legacy that we leave behind must be one that all who comes after us must be proud of. And that is why we have to stand up now, so that what we do now can have an impact on this island moving forward. So, fair share is what I'll continue to advocate for. And I want all to come on board and join us in this fight, because it would be to the benefit of everyone, not myself, not the Premier, not Eric alone, but the whole of Nevis would benefit. Imagine having roads being completed all up and down Nevis. There are projects that we have had, first phase, yes. They call us all kind of names, but the phases that we have done, they are being used at this time. All of them. I want to go ahead and say to the people of Nevis, we want to look just as good as anyone out there. And if monies are available to us, give us, we know to spend it. And don't ask us how we spend it either, because it is all money. We choose to spend it. You send your son to the shop and ask him how we spend the money, that's fine. That's your son. But we're grown people in Nevis. We know how to spend money and we need our money. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Jeffers.
If I can chime in as well, of course I'm going to give Honorable Mark Brantley the final word, because I think no one can articulate the issue of fair share like the Honorable Mark Brantley can, because he has been at this for 7 years. Myself and Alexis, we are just 2 years into the mix. But the Honorable Mark Brantley, and I must commend him very highly. I must give kudos to Honorable Mark Brantley, because he has been unrelenting where this issue of fair share is concerned. And I think he's the one who coined the term fair share. And that is why he has been at it and at it and at it. And it is because of the fact that the Honorable Mark Brandy has been at it so much why we are at this point now where we are going into an election, and this is one of the major issues that we as a party and we as the representatives and the candidates of the Concerned Citizens Movement, we must hold one head, we must speak with one voice. And so the Honorable Mark Brandy has been speaking about fair share for 7 years. And I know charges have been laid against myself and Alexis. We haven't heard a lot about us, from us where the fair share issue is concerned. But I want to make it absolutely clear that we are on board with our leader, with the Honorable Mark Brantley. We are speaking with one voice. We are standing up for Nevis where this fair share is concerned. Because, of course, as Alexis would have indicated, there is so much work on the island of Nevis to do. There are so many projects that we have to do. I mean, when I look at my own ministry, there are a lot of things that needs to be done. And if we are getting our fair and equitable share of the pie, the monies that are being generated from our St. Kitts and Nevis passport, then we have absolute use for the money here in Nevis, and we need to get it. Now, let us look at ourselves individually. Fair share is about being just, being equitable, and as the term says, being fair. And we as individuals, we demand to be treated fairly in whatever we do. There are a number of persons who feel that they're not treated fairly on the job, and they agitate, don't they? There are a number of persons who feel they're not treated fairly in the home or by their family members, and they agitate, don't they? They even go as far as the court system. And so if us as individuals, we want to be treated fairly, we as an island of Nevis and as a part of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, we deserve fair share, and we will demand it until we get it. And we believe that we are right on the cusp of getting our fair share. And so we will continue to agitate, because we believe confidently it will come. And so we are not ashamed of standing up for Nevis and standing up for the issue of fair share. Because as I said, it's not that we are begging for what don't belong to us. We are 3 proud Nevisians. I, for one, am a proud Henley Parter, I'm a proud Gingerlander, and I'm a proud Nevisian. And I will continue to stand up for Nevis, and I will continue to stand with the other 2 representatives, and we will continue to stand for fair share. We will continue to demand it until we get it.
Thank you, Honorable Evelyn. Mr. Premier.
Well, I don't know there's much that I could add. You've heard the passion, I think, from both Alexis and Eric. I want to say to the people of St. Kitts for a moment that we are not here talking about taxes that are generated in St. Kitts. And that's very important. The people of St. Kitts must understand that what we have been concerned about are the hundreds of millions, in fact billions of dollars, that are flowing into Bastia from the sale of a joint asset, the St. Kitts Nevis passport. You heard me mention earlier the work that I and the team at Foreign Affairs has embarked upon to make the passport the strongest in the region. It is the most sought after in the region. And the irony of it is that a Nevisian is leading that effort to make it the strongest. But the people of Nevis have been denied their fair share of the pie, the fair share of the monies that come in. Now, to put that in context, when the SIDF came into being, somewhere around 2007, 2008, it really took off. And billions of dollars were made. At the time, we had, post-2010, a Labour NRP administration in Bastia. And the people of Nevis got no benefit. They were in office at the federal level, and there was an NRP administration at the local level until 2013. But the people of Nevis got nothing from the Citizenship by Investment program. In fact, and it's a matter of every time I talk about it, I get passionate, Latoya, because it pains me that our airport, the Vance Amber International Airport, was mortgaged to the SIDF. A loan of $4 million. Imagine your own money is being lent to you. And our airport was mortgaged by the NRP to cover that loan of $4 million. It is a travesty and something that all of us must say could never again happen in this country. And they were in government in Bastion, in government in Charlestown, and that is what happened. Now, when we saw what was happening in the CCM, we were in opposition. And we said this wasn't right. We campaigned against it. And when Team Unity came about, in 2014, we went down on the courthouse steps in Charleston and we signed the Charleston Accord. The Charleston Accord deals with many things, but the only revenue item it deals with is citizenship by investment. And it dealt with citizenship by investment because we understood that the Constitution in 110 is dealing with taxes. Citizenship by investment is non-tax revenue. And it wasn't the taxes that we had an interest in, it is the billions of dollars that were flowing into Bastia from the Citizenship by Investment program. No, they have always been trying to hide the numbers in Sinkits. I have always been, as I like to say, amused and bemused that the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris speaks eloquently about how much money Nevis get. He can tell you down to the dollar, down to the cent, how much money Nevis got, but he has never once told us how much money Sinkits got. He has never once said to us, this is the amount that was earned from the Citizenship by Investment program. But every time he stands up, he tells you how much percentage increase Nevis get, but not what Sinkits has got. Because you see, that is the false narrative that is being used. And when I see Nevisians who ought to know better, picking up that narrative and running with it, I said to myself, clearly we have lost our way. Because when the figures are examined, and I put together eventually a 3-person team here in Nevis, I said, listen, go through the numbers, scour the internet, the budget documents, whatever you can find. And after a couple of weeks, the team came back and the team advised that what they had found was just in the region of $5.3, $5.4 billion. Billion. Somebody said to me the other day, they don't think that people quite understand what a billion is. It's so much that they can't quite understand. 5.3 billion is 5,300 million. So think about a million and you do 5,300 of those. That's 5.3 billion. And during the period, Nevis got 400 million with 25% of the population. The Charleston Accord was very specific. It was one of the fundamental planks on which unity was formed. That we needed our share of these proceeds because prior to 2015, we were not getting anything. And so when that was worked out, and I am passionate about it because I am the person who drafted the Charleston Accord. So I know what it says. And Timothy Harris signed it, Van Samre of blessed memory signed it, and Sean Richards signed it. But when we got into office, something went wrong. And people started to forget what they committed to. And I have been agitating and agitating quietly, internally, but you get to a point where you're fed up because you recognize that people are taking you for a fool. And I said publicly, and I don't mind saying it, maybe it is not the appropriate language for a town hall, but my board paper don't say Kunamono anywhere in it. My board paper doesn't say Kunamono anywhere in it. I say that because immediately I say Kunamono, they might cut off. But the reality is that people continue to take us for fools. And so I had to stand up, and my colleagues here stood up with me and said enough is enough. Now, Latoya, I want to put this in context for the people of Nevis. If we receive $5.3 billion, as I said, that's what we were able to find. It might be more. And Nevis got its 25% of that. You realize that's nearly $1 billion. $1 billion. $1 billion. Could you imagine what could be done on the island of Nevis with $1 billion more than what we have received? We could pay off all of our debt. Gone. Finish our hospital project. pave every road in the island of Nevis. Geothermal energy. We could achieve all that we are seeking to achieve and still have money left to put in the bank for a rainy day. Instead of that, the people of Nevis and the government of Nevis has been forced to borrow. Borrow in order to pay public servants, borrow in order to make ends meet. At a time when COVID came, we had no reserves that we could go to. And I credit these two gentlemen here with me and the other members of the Nevis cabinet because they know how we agonize week after week trying to figure out how we're going to keep Nevis moving forward. Because in the pandemic, all the hotels shut down, our revenue stream had come to a close. And when, in the midst of the pandemic, Latoya, I found out by chance that in 2021, St. Kitts Nevis earned $588 million from citizenship by investment. And Nevis get the same 45 that we were getting pre-pandemic. You know, I remember the day, it was the day before the budget debate in St. Kitts last year. I believe the budget was the 14th of December. This was the 13th. All year, Tim will tell us things bad, things bad, things bad. The day before the budget, he comes in with the financial secretary, and they say, oh, we have a surplus. And we need to know how now we're going to do. We're going to pay a double salary, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I'm there sitting down and I say, surplus, how the surplus come? Cruise ships ain't come back yet. Marriott and Park Hyatt and all of them still struggling. Where the surplus come from? Because at the time, we who are sitting in the very cabinet had no idea how much money the Citizenship by Investment program had brought in. But when we found out the number, 588 million, I am sure every man, woman, and child in Nevis could understand that if you bring in 588 and Nevis only get 45, it means that St. Kitts take $543 million for themselves. Now, when you say the old people say that's advantage. 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 And I don't understand why people in Nevis aren't passionate about this because it is so blatantly wrong. And because we dared to stand up and say enough is enough, we will not and cannot accept this. We are being labeled as greedy. We are being labeled as we want it. How could you be greedy when Nevis has got 7% and St. Kitts has got 93%? Well, if anybody is greedy, there's Bastia. Because you've taken the lion's share. And the people of Nevis, I believe, have to understand. Some say, oh, you're arguing about money. Well, you need money to develop the country. You need money. When the Honorable Spencer Brand comes and he wants to do a road, he wants to expand water, he wants to drill for wells. Right now we're having a water situation in Nevis because of the long, dry spell. That could have been fixed if we could afford desalination, if we could afford to drill for wells. It requires resources to do it. And Nevisians are forced to borrow and put ourselves in debt while St. Kitts slapping his leg and saying, surplus, money in the bank. That cannot be right when we are citizens in our own country. And I am passionate about it because I am not going to sit back as a leader of Nevis and allow that situation to continue. It continued for far too long and it shouldn't continue for any more. And so like Alexis, I am saying that all Nevisians should rally to this cause. And that is a fundamental issue for me in this election. The question is, who the people of Nevis trust to go to Bastia and stand up. And let me just say to our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts before I close, that prosperity for Nevis is prosperity for you. Prosperity in St. Kitts is prosperity in Nevis, and prosperity in Nevis is prosperity in St. Kitts. We are one country. And so this notion, as I heard in a tape by the same Timothy Harris saying, that, oh, every dollar I send to Nevis is a dollar less for St. Kitts, it tells me that he's not ready for prime time. He doesn't understand the role of a national leader because he's suggesting that if Nevis gets something, it's less for St. Kitts. When in fact he should be saying, how do I develop the country? You could imagine if we had geothermal now, Latoya, providing power not only to Nevis but to St. Kitts as well. Shielding our people from the shock of these increasing electricity prices? All of that would have been possible if we had somebody at the helm who understood what his role was. Not only for the people in Tabernacle, but for the people of the entire country. And that is what we're talking about when we say fair share. And for me, the issue is clear. That the people of Nevis are saying that we are no less than, we demand what is rightfully ours, and that is our proportional share of the pie. I don't see what the problem to that is. If you base it on population, you say to sink it, you got 75% of the population, you get 3/4 of the money. What is wrong with that? And you budget accordingly. Nevis, you have 25%, you get 1/4 of the money. But there's a view in some quarters that that's too much money for us. Because in 2021 alone, on that formula, Nevis would have got somewhere in the region of $145 million. Instead of that, we got 45. And we're being told, hush your mouth. Hush your mouth, you never used to get nothing. And you're greedy because you say you demand what is rightfully yours. Well, if I'm greedy for the people of Nevis. And if we are greedy, we're greedy for the betterment of the island of Nevis. And I like tonight to say I plead guilty to being greedy for the people of Nevis.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. We did receive a question from our Facebook Live. I think you would have touched on it a bit, but the question is, what plans do you have for Nevis if we are to receive our fair share?
I think the plans for Nevis are so many, but I can tell you, in terms of some big plans, I would like to pay down the debt that we have in Nevis. We would like to get rid of that overhang and bring our debt within manageable conditions. Yes, we are paying our debt now, but the truth is that every dollar we take to pay debt means there's less money for education, less for health, less for security, less for infrastructure. So I would like to pay off a significant portion of that debt. I would like to see our statutory corporations, NHLDC, NEVLEC, the NASPA, that those agencies are put on a proper financial footing. I would like to see our hospital finished. I'm grateful to the audience for saying the hospital, because that expansion at Alexandra Hospital will be the most significant development in healthcare in Nevis in the past century. And I would like to see that finished. I would like to see our access to geothermal energy realized, because I believe that that will change the face of our country, not just Nevis, but the entire country, in terms of having cheaper and more affordable energy. And I, of course, would like to have some money in the bank, because as the hurricane season approaches, we now know what is going to happen. And you have to put something aside in the event that something happens, that you have some resource to provide relief to our people. I am sure the Honorable Eric Evelyn would like to be able to expand the social safety nets that he manages to ensure that people who are struggling have a hand up. And you cannot do any of those things without the resources to do it. When I hear Latoya, people say to me, why Nevis don't try and get their own revenue source? Why Nevis don't try and develop something for itself to earn money? And I say, but people forward. People out of order with that. You have a cow that is owned by two brothers, one milking the cow and selling the milk and telling you where you don't go and find your own source of money. But the cow is our cow. And so I have a constant problem with the suggestion that because you stand up in Nevis and you say that this is what you demand, this is what is right and fair and just and equitable, that there's something wrong with saying that. And that is why I'm saying that we have big plans in Nevis, but to effectuate those plans, we need to be able to have the resources available to us in order to do them.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Another question that I have received, and this has been going around on social media over the last few weeks, is that the Prime Minister has given Nevis millions of dollars, 400 million to be exact. But persons are indicating that they're not seeing where the monies were spent. Can you please shed some light on this issue?
Well, I will tell you, if Stevie Wonder was here, he would see. And Stevie Wonder can't see. So I am surprised that Nevisians are saying they can't see. I hear one lady who's up and down the place here talking, but she can't see. She drives on a brand new road through Brown Hill every day to get home. Traverse the road, the first major piece of infrastructure done in Brown in the last 50 years. The Treasury building, the water taxi pier that has revolutionized travel between our two islands. A water taxi business that is 100% Nevision owned. I mean, when we start to think about these things, the Newcastle Police and Fire Station, our CCTV command center, our Mondo track, because of that Mondo track and the fact that our children are no longer running on dirt and grass, you see what they went sing it and do? They bang it for everybody. Beat the whole federation. So my point is that when people say they can't see, you know what our wage bill in Nevis is like, Latoya? Every month the government of Nevis has to find $8.5 million to pay wages and salaries. Every month. Now if you consider that all that we were getting from CBI was $3.75 million a month, you realize that we're not even halfway to paying our wage bill. So during the pandemic, when for 2 years our revenue stream was decimated, well, what people think we were using to pay wages and salaries? We were using the little pittance that came, and then we had to make that up and still had projects going to try and continue to develop the island of Nevis. Look around our island. For the first time in our history, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers has led a housing revolution in Nevis. He can talk about developments that we have now running simultaneously in Maddens, Hamilton, Craddock Road, Cherry Gardens, Rice's, Garner's, never before in the history of Nevis. So when I hear people say they can't see, I said I believe Stevie Wonder would be embarrassed because even he could see what is happening here on the island of Nevis. But it's again part of the false narrative. If you want people to take their eye off the real issue, you give them a non-issue to talk about. So you say, look how much money Nevis get, 400 million. They never get that much money yet because my father from Cotton Grove. And people up here start to jump up and start to clap. And lose sight of the fact that you are asking Nevis what it has done with 7%. Who's asking St. Kitts what they've done with 93%? The people of Cairn still can't get water. There's no new hospital. So when we talk about development, where is the Bastia High School? Where are the new schools from 93%? $4.95 billion. What has happened to that? Nobody's asking those questions. So you are asked to account for the pittance that you get. But them who are getting the lion's share walk away, and nobody's asking them that. I think that Nevisians need to see a red herring for what it is, dismiss it for what it is. Because the 400 million they talk about that we received over 7 years could not even cover salaries on the island of Nevis. Not even that. And you hear how much projects I mentioned, and I'm sure I didn't touch all. The Treasury building, I forget that. Did I say that?
You said that, yeah. But you know what is kind of strange as well?
Henley Park, down by you too? Yes.
I don't think you mentioned the hospital, but I will just quickly, what is kind of strange about this narrative as well? From the comments I'm hearing, and disappointingly from a lot of us in Nevis, is that they're saying we got 400 million. But you know, they keep pretending as if the 400 million came one time. Came one time. It was not spread over 7 years. And so they're pretending as if we got 400 million in one tranche and we have not done anything with it. Of course, the Premier would have spoken to it. If we were getting 3.7 million and we were getting less than that per month, and our wage bill is 8.5 million, then you realize that we were just getting a drop in the bucket. And that is where the fair share issue comes in.
Care to add anything?
If I may just, I seldom don't like to come after the Premier because he has done such an excellent job of laying out what could have been done with those monies. But I just want to add that currently as it is, when it comes to the STEP program, when it comes to the PAP, those social programs are administered from Bastia. We are saying that if we were to get our rightful share or fair share, we can administer them from here and many more divisions would be able to benefit.
Absolutely.
Many times you send names over to St. Kitts, throw them in a bag and whatever comes out. It's like they call back to Nevis and ask, well, who is Latoya? Who is she connected to? And if you're not the type of person they want to assist, you don't get anything. So it's like a chicken and egg type of thing. What we are saying is that give us our rightful share, and we can administer our PAP program. Many persons in Nevis call on a daily basis and say they want some relief. We can provide that relief. The STEP program, as it is, it's been administered from Bastille. We have to send names over there, and they don't get qualified for that program. We believe that we have a good knowledge of the Nevisian landscape, and we know where the difficulties and the issues are. As a matter of fact, I would say that we can retool these programs and make them even more beneficial for the island of Nevis. There are ideas that we have that we can certainly put in place to make sure that these programs are used effectively and produce what they're intended to produce. So that is just to add to the Premier's points that he was making. But I do believe in a wholesome way, give us what is ours, let us go about managing our affairs here on the island of Nevis. Nevis will benefit, Nevis will be made a better place, St. Kitts will manage their program, St. Kitts will be made a better place, and then the entire federation, of course, will be a much better, much stronger country as a result.
One more question that I've received on Facia, and I think, Mr. Premier, I'll direct to you. In the event that PAM and CCM gets back in power, how are you certain that we would receive our fair share?
Well, if we don't receive our fair share, PAM and CCM wouldn't last for long. So simple as that. I think Sean Richards understands, and in fact, I was very pleased that he made a speech over the last few weeks when he said he supports 100% the position that Nevis has taken on this. And so I am very clear, and Sean understands my position, Mr. Richards understands my position clearly, that unless the people of Nevis are at the table and being able to get what they're entitled to, then we can't be part. And we are saying that unity was designed to solve these problems. We have had one element of unity that has decided to go in a different direction. But we are saying now that PAM with CCM, we have real unity. That is what we are saying. Going back to the ideals and the principles. And we feel that together we can deliver for all the people in the country. So the Honorable Sean Richards understands me very clearly. I think he understands the Honorable Eric Evelyn and the Honorable Alexis Jeffers. And he understands that if we are to have real unity in a PAM-CCM government, then these things are non-negotiable.
Thank you, honorable gentlemen. We will now open the floor for questions.
Yeah? Yeah.
So nice to be here in Nevis tonight. I'll be leaving in 10 minutes. I'm glad to get the opportunity to ask this question. Brother Mark, what you and Sean Richards intend to do about the problems going on in St. Kitts with the way Timothy acting as if he has a normal government, just doing things, firing people, helped by the Governor General, of course. I know about that plan. Helped by the Governor, and almost like St. Kitts and Nevis is non-existent with our people. I believe we are to come together and do a peaceful, massive demonstration in Bastille. to show the world Timothy Harris doesn't rule this country and his time has come and gone. So if you and Sean have not been talking about this, let's come together and have some serious consideration, consultation on what is going on in Bastille. You all mightn't be having the problems up here, but we are one federation and we got to look after each other. We might have to sit down serious by weekend and work out going forward, because we only need to have peace. What Timothy Harris, I could read him, I'm a spiritual man. Timothy Harris is now acting like a demon, like he's driven by the devil. So demonstration don't mean bottle and stone in buildings. Peaceful demonstration, because the evangelistic association, the bar association, our country don't have those things anymore. And I'm shocked. So let's think about something different and not allow Timothy Harris to just do as he please in our country. You all have a good evening. I'm off to Bastille.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming, and thank you for being a part of our first town hall. You are correct. We are looking on and we are concerned. I believe that the reason why you have not seen that level of agitation as yet is because we know the time is short. I'm reminded of the story that I learned in Sunday school, that when Lucifer was cast out of heaven, he knew his time was short. So he went about the earth trying to do as much damage as he could. I believe we have a similar situation here. Timothy Harris knows that his time is short, and he knows that he has no pathway back to the office of the Prime Minister. And so all that you're seeing now is, to my mind, simply tomfoolery, engaging in firing people. I see today, I saw some letters being circulated that they've fired entire boards in Sinkis. And it's almost as if on the way out, he's seeking to do as much damage as he can. But I feel that the days, every day that ticks by, draws us closer to the inevitable. We know we have 90 days, and within that 90 days, we must have an election. And when that election is called, I believe the results will show that the people of our country want change and they want a better way. And I have said publicly that when the roll is called up yonder, I know that PAM and CCM will go marching in. The saints will go marching in, and that for me is what is important. And so, if it is that Timothy Harris has the confidence, then let him ring the bell. Let him stop with all the self-aggrandizement and tomfoolery, and ring the bell and let the people decide. But I believe he knows what that decision will be, and that is why he's holding on. So, Mr. DuPont, I don't rule out protests, peaceful protests. It is always, in a democracy, something that is available to our people. But that will be a matter that we'll have to discuss, because we have been looking at the clock and understanding that the clock is ticking and the time is going. I believe that the Parliament was dissolved on May 10th, if memory serves, and we are now today at what, May 26th? So already time is going, and we understand that every day that goes by draws us closer to an election day.
Thank you, Mr. DuPont, for coming to support, and thank you for responding, Honorable Premier. Any more questions from the floor? I just received a question, and it says, what if CCM and PAM do not win the next election? What will be the position of the NIA? Are you prepared to work with another federal government?
Well, the short answer is, of course, Nevis has to work with whoever is in Bastille. And so we must be prepared to work, again, on the principles that we have espoused and for the benefit of the people of Nevis. Whoever is in the NIA has to work with whoever is in Church Street, so long as this country exists as a single country. And so that, I think, goes without saying, that we have to be prepared to work, to find common ground, to move the country forward. But I am hopeful, in fact, I'm more than hopeful, I'm optimistic that the people of our country will send us back to government. And I'm confident that the people of Nevis have seen in the CCM the type of representation that they need, that they want, and some argue that they've never had before in Bastille to take the message of Nevis and fund on behalf of Nevis forward.
Our last question before we wrap up. With all that is going on in recent times, many persons have expressed the view that the unity construct is dead. Do you think that this is a fair assessment?
Unity is not dead. Unity can't be dead because unity was always an idea. Unity is an idea about how we bring our people together. I believe it is the Bible that speaks about how good and pleasant it is for brethren. Psalms. How good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. So unity comes from God. And the fact that one rogue has left unity doesn't mean that unity has been abandoned. I believe that we still have the core principles of unity. And if PAM, if CCM, if anybody else is prepared to commit to those principles, I think the country is going to be in good hands. And so I don't think team unity is dead. I think one member has left the team. The Los Angeles Lakers isn't no longer a team because one of the players leave. So that's where we are. The West Indies cricket team continued to play cricket even after Brian Lara left. So if it is that somebody who had a different agenda decides now that he wants to abandon team unity, then let him go. And we will continue on the path, a principled path, involving all the people of our country, getting their fair share, and getting the opportunity to contribute to the development of St. Kitts and Nevis. That is what unity was about, and I believe that that is what unity will continue to be about.
And I also believe that unity is being demonstrated every day among Kittitians and Nevisians and all of us who dwell here. People love the idea of unity because that is what people voted overwhelmingly for in 2020. And I believe it's because of what they voted for overwhelmingly in 2020, why I believe they realize that the unity idea is still very much alive. And we of the Concerned Citizens Movement and the People's Action Movement, we are keeping that alive. And that is why we are so confident that we will be back in government in a few short weeks. Unity will always be alive and well in the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
If I may just add my piece to this. I believe the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis can cast their minds back to 2013, 2014, 2015. You saw true unity at work then. And of course the Premier would have alluded to the fact that there was a fraction of unity that had a different agenda. Our agenda, the CCM and the PAM, and you realize the Concerned Citizens Movement and the People's Action Movement, they're two movements. So perhaps it's good to get rid of the party story, and stick with the movement. Because movements are about people and putting people first, and putting people's interests ahead of ours as representatives of the people. So that is why I'm confident that unity, true unity this time, will work. It has proven to be the best thing in recent times in this federation. And I do believe that come the next election, 3 CCM and obviously 3 or more from the PAM will form the new government, and then we'll continue to work. And all of the programs and policies and plans that were to be accomplished in the original unity will be accomplished then, and people will be much better off as a result.
We are now at the end of our first town hall meeting, and I would like to ask each representative to give closing remarks. We will begin with Honorable Eric Evelyn.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I just want to say how happy and privileged I've been to be a part of this, our first town hall meeting for this campaign. I think it has gone extremely well. It is important, of course, for us to dialogue with the people. It is important for the people to hear from us, and it is important for us to hear from the people. And I just want to end where I started in saying that this campaign is about the people of Nevis. This campaign is about you, the persons, the divisions, and the residents of Nevis. This campaign is about you. This campaign is about us in the Concerned Citizens Movement, fighting for you and for your right, and for the right of Nevis and the right of divisions and the residents. And so we will be coming to you during the course of the next couple of weeks, and we're asking for your support. And we are confident that we will get your support. And so I'm just going to end by saying thank you for having us within your living rooms, wherever you are tonight. We hope that you will continue to join us in our follow-up meetings and town hall meetings. And we ask that you embrace us when we come to you in the highways and byways. And we will be looking forward to your support as we continue to fight and to stand up for you.
Honorable Alexis
Yes,
Jeffers.
thank you very much. I just want to say at this point in time that the people of Nevis 11 would have made an excellent choice in Alexis Jeffers in 2020 when I was voted as elected as the representative of this proud constituency. I do believe the choice this time around again will be just as easy, but even more profound in that I have demonstrated over the last, let's say less than 2 years, that I am prepared for the job and I'm willing to go to Bastille along with my colleague and stand up for what is right and what is best for Nevis. We're talking about fair share, we're talking about togetherness, and we're talking about standing up. These are some qualities and some characteristics that are embedded in all of us as divisions, yes. And you want them to be exemplified in your representatives. And that is what we have done over the last 2 years or just about. So we are now on the pathway towards doing just that again. And I want to say that the issues that we're going to be talking about during this campaign over the next couple of weeks are very simple. It is about fair share, what is Nevis's rightful share, which is what we've been talking about, and do not allow anyone to create any diversionary tactics in this election. These elections are far too serious to be taken in a trivial way by anyone mixing and giving you what I call, quote unquote, a little pilau with chicken and whatever mixed up in a pot. This is straight down the line. Fair share for the people of Nevis so that we can use those resources to bring about the necessary changes here on the island of Nevis. I don't think there is anything else that we should be arguing about. If we are talking about fair share, let's stick with that. Come on board, everyone in Nevis, including the opposition. Come on board with the CCM. After this is done, we can talk about all other things. But at this time, when times are so serious, at this time when we hear about all of the monies that have come into Bastille and what little have made their way to Charlestown, this is the time for all of us to put all hands on deck. And let's go about doing what is necessary to provide what is best for the island of Nevis, and that is to get what is rightfully ours.
Honorable Premier, your closing remarks.
Latoya, I want to thank everyone for being here and for those who would have tuned in via the various media. I always say that serious times demand serious attention from serious people. And I believe that in the CCM and sitting on this platform this evening, you have a team that has demonstrated its seriousness. We are no longer saying to our people, take a chance on us. We are now saying that we have a record that you can look to. In Alexis Jeffers, the people of number 11 have a record that they can look to. In the Honorable Eric Evelyn, they have a record in number 10 that they can look to. And in myself, the people of number 9 have been kind to me. They have been with me since 2007. For 15 years, they have never wavered from my side. And I believe that is because they know that I represent them, and I do so to the best of my ability. We are in a very serious time now in our country, and we must not gamble. We must send people to Bastille who have demonstrated the ability to stand up for the island of Nevis, and the people who have demonstrated that they're willing to stand up for a better federation for all. I believe in us. You have 3 Hebrew boys who have come, and who have come in a humble way to serve. And I don't believe that there's a better team now available in Nevis to represent the interests of our people than the three who are on this stage. And so for me, I continue to appeal to the people of St. John's and St. Paul's to stick with me, because in me they know they have someone who will fight for them. In number 10, St. George Gingerland, I'm asking the people to stick with Eric Evelyn, because he really needs no introduction. People know him. People understand what he represents. And of course, in number 11, the good people of St. Thomas's and St. James, that the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, in a short space of time, has demonstrated what he can do to represent them. Together, we are a movement for good. And together, we will ensure that the people of Nevis benefit and the people of the wider federation benefit as well. Thank you for having us. Thank you for your gracious hosting of this event. And thank you for those who came out to our first town hall meeting. I'm encouraging, of course, the public to continue to stay in touch with the CCM as we continue to spread the message of hope, the message that I believe the people of Nevis need at this very difficult time in our history.
Thank you to our representatives. Thank you to all who tuned in and all who have supported and continue to support the Concerned Citizens Movement. Our next meeting will be this coming Saturday at Chicken Stone at 8 p.m. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone there. If you're unable to attend, please tune in via our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, or our website. Thank you and God bless.
This is Original Coffee representing for the CCM party, Mark Brantley.
My name is Mark Brantley, and I'm the proud leader of the Concerned Citizens Movement and the exceedingly proud representative of the people of District 9, comprising the parishes of St. John's and St. Paul's. Since 2007, the people of Number 9 have voted for me consistently and have sent me to Bastille. Election after election, they have reposed their trust and confidence in me. Some say, why should we send you to Bastille? I think the answer is simple, that in me you have someone who is committed, someone who's dedicated, and someone who's strong. Someone who will stand up in Bastille for what is best for my constituents and best for the island of Nevis.
My name is Alexis Jeffers, and I am the proud representative of Nevis 11, which includes St. Thomas and St. James. I have been the representative of this proud constituency since June of 2020. You have said in the past that you needed quality representation. You needed serious representation and dedicated representation, which was lacking for 20 years prior to 2020. So I'm asking the people of St. James and St. Thomas Parish once again to repose your confidence, your trust in me once again to go back to Bastille and champion your cause there as your representative of Nevis 11.
CCM massive, CCM people, CCM supporters. The time is here to show your true colors. It's a Concerned Citizen Movement campaign launch and rally this Saturday, May 21st, 2022 at Caribbean Cove at 8 p.m. Supporters of 9, 10, and 11 going out and hear your Concerned Citizen Movement candidates. Honorable Eric Evelyn, Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and Premier Honorable Mark A.G. Brantley. The big blue machine is ready to roll this Saturday, 21st May 2022.
We bang them already, we go bang them again. Say we bang them already, we go bang them again.
My name is Eric Evelyn, and I am running for the constituency of Nevis 10. And I'm here because I want to be re-elected to continue to serve the people of constituency Nevis 10 and the people of Nevis, and by extension the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I believe that I have what it takes to represent and to represent well. I believe that representation requires commitment, dedication, passion, and service with compassion. I believe that I bring all of that and more. I believe that I bring the energy that is required to go to Bastille and to represent and represent well.